bitch, how you doing today? Woke up this morning thinking about what I'ma drive today. GT or G63, I might just copy it. Told the bitch I'm on my way, not even on my way. What's the ETA? Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. Are you gonna stay? Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. You ain't heard what I said, bitch, you wasn't meant for. Close your mouth, open your ears, what you finna do? You ain't gotta go, bitch, you can't stay here. Scratch my head, cut my ear with a chandelier. 2021, quick business, bitch, not even a year. Oh, to me, hello, good morning, bitch, how you doing today? Woke up this morning thinking about what I'ma drive today. GT or G63, I might just copy it. Told the bitch I'm on my way, not even on my way. What's the ETA? Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. Are you gonna stay? Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. Bitch, don't ask me them type of questions. You ain't heard what I said, bitch, you wasn't meant for. Close your mouth, open your ears, what you finna do? You ain't gotta go, bitch, you can't stay here. Scratch my head, cut my ear with a chandelier. 2021, quick business, bitch, not even a year. Oh, to me.
You know, I was going to make a video the other day, and this is kind of out of sequence of some of the topics I was going to cover or was thinking about covering. But I was going to make a video the other day titled something to the effect of, why they hate us. Like why white people hate black people. I think some of the reasons are obvious, the guilt, they don't want to acknowledge the stuff. I mean, black people's existence is a constant reminder of, as Amazing Lucas would say, white people's lineage of evil. Right? But I searched around and, I think I typed it in, and the next thing you know, God, the fucking algorithms, man. I typed that shit in and then bam, I'm getting a bunch of videos with that type of title. I started like a few videos here and there. Didn't particularly care for them, because they kind of they went magical. White people don't like black people because we have a higher consciousness, and we're floating through the cosmos, and we have portals to the nether realm, and all this like Hotep magical stuff. And they're jealous of our melanin, and because the sun kills them, planet Earth is literally killing them, and black people, we were made for that. Like all that metaphysical, magical bullshit. I was hoping somebody was gonna say something profound, something, something solid, something that's based in, why people, just seem to, take an angle of hatred towards you. It's usually either you're making them feel some type of way, or there's some sort of underlying, jealousy, or they believe, whatever propaganda, is against you. Right? Like those are like the solid things, right? Understanding human psychology and how the brain works. But I was really looking for, an answer, right? And what I noticed, what made me like come to the conclusion, come to this is, I swipe through IG, I look at like random stuff, and every once in a while I'll get some hood shit that'll pop up. And it'll be like, like street takeovers or something like that, or guys, just in their, Challengers, Chargers, Dodge, anything, just spinning tires, and they're all hanging out the window, and they're having a good old time, young boys, right? And you go into the comment sections, and the comment sections, not on all the videos, but a couple of the videos, you get these white people that come in the comment section, and there's even some black people. Even I'll admit, there's like these these RoboCop, behave yourselves, type of black people, right? And so you get like a mix of that, but it's mainly like white folks, and it all, they like, I told you, they like bounce around the internet looking for bias confirmation. Like, anytime a black man gets shot by police, they're over there jerking off. Anytime there's a video of police activity, and there's an interaction between a black man and police, the joggers, they're over there jerking off some more. Like, it's like these guys literally have no life. They're just corny like that. But I mean, it's what they do. All this bias kind of do. White women, there's white women over there too. Usually they're older and a bunch of hags. But I've just noticed that, right? I know a lot of you have noticed that. Like, it's like you can't just watch something, you know, without there being just a bunch of fucking racist comments, coming from white folks, right? Some people will say they're bots. I'll even throw that on the table. I'm just saying, I know by and large, the majority of these comments are coming from white people that are looking for bias confirmation, because sometimes they'll just take over the entire comment section, especially if it's anything from Fox News. They just literally take over the entire comment section. Joggers this, oh, it looks like Obama's son. The, what is it, 1350. What's another favorite one that they like to throw up? He was a good kid. Or there's another one. Don't. Burn the coal, pay the toll. That's usually if a white woman gets, assaulted while she's dating a black man. Like, domestic violence can't happen like anywhere in any combination of people. Like, just dumb shit. But there's another one that they like to say all the time. Usual suspects. That's the other one. Low IQ this, low IQ that. They're just in the comment section, just beating their meat, right? And I already know, like, the profile of majority of white people. Like, majority of them are just like poor or working class white people, don't really have much. They're on. Remember, talking about Captain Solo's father, who was on that. He worked at GM, and Cap was trying to get a job, and his dad used to pull that. I bet you can't pull $100 out of your pocket. Right. And that whole mentality of like, ain't nobody going to eat off of me. And a lot of white people carry that, like, ain't nobody going to eat off of me type of thing. And it's a very weird sort of thing, like, especially when they talk about like conservatism and families. And I talked about this in my last video, where, you'll talk to these white conservatives typically, and they'll talk about how much they love family and all that other stuff, and you need Jesus, and right, as soon as you get into like the nuts and bolts that actually sustain the family, which are young men being gainfully employed, full medical and dental, pensions, all that stuff, right, growth over time, right, as soon as you get into that, right, they get into this foaming at the mouth, oh, niggas don't deserve that type of shit. I'm like, what? Why doesn't he? If you're going into the plant and he's going into the plant, why doesn't he deserve? Y'all got the same job. Why doesn't he deserve to have the same setup that you have, so that he can have the same situation, at home, in his community, in his household, all that stuff? They're like, this is. I don't know what it is. It's like a white superiority complex where they just want to see black people dusty. And then they complain about the outcome, of the dustiness, right? That's why I say, get carjacked, hashtag get carjacked. Like, I don't really give a shit at this point, because as far as, when you go through the history, or what people want to call CRT, it's like people will say, oh, you're justifying, violence, or you're justifying black people acting like, a bunch of savages. I'm like, yo, you set up the system for them to be a bunch of savages. And then, like, these average, like, working class white people, like, they don't get it. They don't get how it's a system. Like, these are people that don't understand how, like, credit cards are a trap, right? They don't understand, because they're at the lower rung of white society. Like, they don't understand the class warfare that goes on, right? In how I say this, the racism that goes on underneath the shadow of class racism. Like, they don't understand, like, how those things are connected, and how they get kind of used it as pawns. And, it's like, oh, we're going to make you an honorary overseer. We're going to give you a little bit of crumbs, right? And you're going to keep the black people at bay. But real talk, we're up here and we're keeping both of y'all motherfuckers out and keeping both of y'all at bay. But as long as we give you a little bit of crumbs, as long as we make you feel that you're just better than the niggas, right? As long as you have a positive male identity, right, then you won't focus on the system. You won't focus on the fact that the white oligarchs are the ones that are screwing you over. You won't focus on the fact that, like, Benjamin Franklin is the one that coined the term crackers, and how he really felt about poor whites. Just completely ignoring the classism that goes on in the white community. Right. And that whole, like, marriage between class and race, and, it's just something that most people just overlook, especially white people. You know, but I mean, it's like, I mean, the most suckered person in the world in America is not, it's not black people. It's poor whites. I mean, poor whites are the most suckered people. And I already know what Lyndon B. Johnson said about poor whites. I also know what he said about black people voting for the Democratic Party for the next 200 years. Again, because it's about class. It's classism. Now, some people disagree with me on that, and we get into this whole thing. Yes, I do believe that if there's, a white oligarch, if he had to choose between the class aspect and the race aspect, he's going to choose the race aspect first, as his weapon of choice, as opposed to focusing on class. Because if you just focus on class, then you end up with a situation where the proletariat can form Voltron when they both realize they're being shafted. So you got to play the race card. You gotta keep those keep that separation going, right? But we talked about this with everything from Birth of a Nation to Gail Dines and what she wrote about King Kong and the white woman. That article used to be open, and now it's like behind a paywall in most of the places I try to find it. But basically, she talked about like Hustler magazine and the way that working class white men are made to feel sexually inferior to black men, right? And I've talked about this with the way even like again going back to the colleague of mine that said black men are cheating the system. And I really just had to sit around and think about like what he really meant by black men are cheating the system. And I already said it. I mean, for those of you that didn't hear it, basically he felt that, as a white man, he had to go out there. He's upper class white man. He didn't grow up upper class. He grew up poor. Okay. But or I should say lower middle class, I'll say working class. In any event, now that he has money, he's like, damn, like in order for me to like he has to live up to the upper middle class white man standard, right? So when he goes out there and when he was dating and stuff like that, like women it was just money, 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 money. You're white, take me shopping, like money, 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 money. And he was like, what was killing him is like you see black guys running around and they spit a few words, show up with the Riz, spit some game, and the next thing you know, they're fucking with these chicks. Now, obviously, we know in the long run, when it comes to stability and all that, Becky's gonna pick stability like 9 times out of 10. But it doesn't mean that she ain't gonna run around fucking with black dudes. Same shit that happened with the Madison Brooks case down there at LSU that the white people don't want to accept. Oh, she's a precious evangelical white woman. She would never sleep around with these mongrels, right? But the funny thing is the fucking white supremacists in the comment sections are more based than all the other white people because they're on some, nah, we know what she was doing. Burn the coal, pay the toll, right? Like they know that there's white women out there that are running around fucking with black dudes. Had she not got hit by the car, she would have fucked around with them. She got dropped off, got picked up by the Uber, and nobody would know what went down. And see, the thing is like white guys know it goes down. They see it. And especially with social media and Instagram and TikTok and all the other stuff, and all these guys standing on street corners and doing the corny shit that I can't stand. You ever been with a black guy? No, I've never been with a black guy. Are you open to being with a black guy? I don't know. Let's find out, right? They hate that shit, right? That shit is like all over the fucking internet. Guys getting and then putting a little dramatic music in the background and the clips and it's just that easy if you're a black guy. Again, yeah, in your early fucking 20s, it's just that easy, right? Because women aren't focused on stability. They're experimenting and all that shit. And then you got the whole aspect of, the black men are the forbidden fruit, right? So it's like white, nobody is a bigger hype man for black men than white men. That's the irony of the shit. Nobody is a bigger hype man. Like even when it comes to like Birth of a Nation and it's like again, white guy, what did he say? He said, I really do think that white men dropped the ball understanding female nature. Like we know how women are when it comes to bad boys. And then you make black men the ultimate bad boy, right? You criminalize us and make us the ultimate bad boy. You got Birth of a Nation, a white woman, she's running away from a white man in blackface and throws herself over the cliff to not be sexually assaulted by a black man. And then you got in the background now in 2023, blacked.com. You can't go on Pornhub without there being tons of interracial sex, which is almost exclusively between a black man, and a white woman. That's another area that creates, a white male racial animosity towards black men. Right. But the other, going back to, female nature, like, you tell a woman, stay away from him, he's a savage. There's a certain percentage of women that are going to be like, ooh, savage, really? Oh, ooh, how dangerous did you say he was? Ooh, you know what I mean? Like that's the nature of fucking women. We already know they're neurotic. You know what I mean? So, they'll get excited and they'll want to dabble in the danger and let me see how close to the edge I can get and get away with it. Like that's their version of X Games. You know what I mean? Like even with black women, that's their version of X Games. I'm gonna date a drug dealer and our car is gonna get shot at, and ooh, it's so exciting and dangerous until she gets hit. Then it's rape and pillage. We're victims. Black men are terrorizing the community. Right? It's all that shit. But when she was with the dude, get away from me, you fucking lame. These motherfucking lames ain't got no motherfucking street smarts, right? Y'all remember that one, right? These lanes ain't got no motherfucking street smarts, right? But then when some shit pops off and then they get hit, then it's, now they're the victims and everybody's supposed to feel sorry. And I'm saying white women play the same fucking game. But white men in their, trying to criminalize black men have made black men like the ultimate bad boy. Like there is no, like, again, like I said before, like, when you hear these white women running around that are in interracial relationships, none of them are like, my boyfriend's big and white and he's going to kick your ass. They don't say that shit. My boyfriend's big and Asian and he's going to kick your ass. They don't say that shit. They say my boyfriend's big and black. Like, again, blackness is tied to some animalistic savagery. Just the word black. You know what I mean? Blacked.com. How come you can't get blanquitoed? How come you can't get, Caucasian.com? How come you can't get whited.com? Like none of that shit. No, blacked.com. I mean, it's all of this shit is just like baked into the system and people don't examine it. They don't fucking look at it. They don't think about it. But anyway, so getting back to white people and their fucking bias. So I'm watching the videos of, black guys, doing the whole street takeover thing. It's the only thing is like, it's not even all black people in the video. It's probably like a sprinkle of white people there, a sprinkle of Hispanic people there, right? But it all depends on where, like what state you're in. Like the clip that I'm going to show you is like a clip of, Jacksonville, Florida, and they're spinning around. I mean, some of the people, I don't even know if this was like a sanctioned event or if they got permits or whatever, but some of the people got fluorescent pennies on, right? Because, the street takeover shit, yes, there's a difference between something that's sanctioned and the government or the local state government approves it. It's like, yeah, go do the shit over there, whatever. And the cops will hang in the background, something versus like in Philly, like, they'll go around City Hall, do a street takeover, block up the traffic. And, I think they had a guy that got ran over, like his head got ran over. I think many people have seen that video. He slipped and fell and then got, the car ran over his head and he had all sorts of, head and brain trauma. So the shit is dangerous and all that other stuff. But like you always get these like, these behave yourselves type of white people whenever it comes to, us doing anything that even is remotely, it's not even necessarily illegal, just dangerous, right? Meanwhile, when it comes to white folks, I mean, they can do everything from fucking Johnny Knoxville and what's the Johnny Knoxville show called? I'm having a brain fart. What's that shit called? What's that damn show called? Hold on. I'm gonna Google this shit right now because now it's bothering me. Johnny Knoxville. What was his shit? Best known professionally, Johnny Knoxville. What's the damn show? Jackass. There you go. Yeah, like white people can go out there and they could do some shit like Jackass, and it's just, it's all fun and games. It's like what I said, the difference between when white criminals do some shit, they're punks. When black criminals do some shit, they're thugs. right? And there's like a thug has like a racial connotation. Thugs are more dangerous. Punks are just like boys will be boys, right? Like that's how white people, use the word punk. Boys will be boys. But whenever it comes to some black teenagers doing some wild shit, these thugs, wearing appearance, like I swear, like I've never seen so many stuffy white people in my life than in these comments. I mean, stuffy white people. These self-righteous, indignant, just stuffy. That's like the best way that I can describe it. Like these get off my lawn, you young whippersnapper, type of white people. I've never seen so many in my life, than on the internet. And it's like across the board, like we all know young people do stupid, wild shit. That's what young people do, right? They don't have any status. They're clout chasing. You're going to see a 20-year-old, try to hood, what do you call that shit? Hood surf on a car and then fucking get killed. You see this in India. They got all these gruesome Indian videos. I was watching some clip and a guy, he was like surfing on a motorcycle and hit the car that was right in front of him. And if you slow the clip down enough, you can see where literally his hand like freaking popped off of his wrist because of the force with which he hit the car, right? So like he's probably gone and dead, but they do all type of stuff. They be on these motorcycles popping wheelies with sandals and shit. That's what young men do, clout chasing, videotaping. You see the Arabs, they swerving, put the car on the side, literally riding on two wheels all the way down the highway in the middle of the desert, right? That's what young people do. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is just like you get to all these older people like, oh, really? You never did any dumb shit when you were young? Again, I understand like the harmful and dangerous shit and all that, but like, here's the thing, right? Because I was watching the clips of the black guys, with the spinning the wheels and all that other stuff, right? And then I was like, there is an equivalent to that. And this is where now I'm going to get into something else, talking about white people establishing standards. And that really is what white privilege is. It's like anything black people touch, even if it's in the same vein, it ain't shit. It's piss. It's just nothing, right? White people will never tip their hat off to anything that black people are doing. They just steal it, right? They tell you it's not shit, and then they steal it, and then they go over there and then they copy it, mimic it, and do it themselves, and then try to claim that they're the innovators of it. They're like the most stealingest motherfuckers out here, right? But going into I wanted to add to again make the connection, right? So talking about black guys in their Chargers and Challengers spinning their wheels, right? NASCAR, National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, and moonshiners have an interesting historical relationship. Moonshiners were individuals who produced and distributed illegal homemade alcohol, often referred to as moonshine during the Prohibition era in the United States, which lasted from 1920 to 1933. Moonshine was typically distilled in remote rural areas and sold illegally. During the time, moonshiners needed fast, powerful cars to outrun law enforcement officials who were trying to intercept and seize their illegal alcohol. To evade capture, moonshiners modified their vehicles to enhance speed and handling. This led to the development of stock cars, which were regular cars with modifications made to improve their performance. After Prohibition ended, moonshiners no longer needed to produce illegal alcohol, but their passion for fast cars remained. They started participating in informal races against each other, showcasing their driving skills and the capabilities of their modified vehicles. These informal races eventually evolved into organized racing events, giving birth to NASCAR in 1948. NASCAR adopted many of the practices and traditions of these moonshiners turned racers. The cars used in NASCAR races were initially stock cars that had been modified for racing purposes, reflecting origins of the sport. Even today, NASCAR racing maintains its roots in stock car racing. Although the cars have become highly specialized and no longer resemble their road-going counterparts, in summary, actually, that was the end of the sentence, right in the paragraph. In summary, the relationship between NASCAR and moonshiners stems from moonshiners' need for fast cars during Prohibition, which means illegal activity, which led to the development of stock cars. The informal races among moonshiners eventually transformed into NASCAR, which adopted a further developed which adopted and further developed the concept of stock car racing. Let me see this. I want to see. Give me a quote from a newspaper where the, upper class discussed their feelings on moonshiners. Let's see. Power is everything. I had to go out and get my charger, but now that I'm in my vehicle, I might as well go and grab something to eat like I was going to. I just let it cool off in here because it's freaking hot. Hold on. But as I was saying, I pulled it. It's not giving me articles, but it says blah, 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 blah. During Prohibition era, moonshiners and their activities were often viewed negatively by the upper class and the general public. Moonshining was seen as illegal and associated with criminal behavior, as well as the evasion of taxes and regulations. The upper class, who typically had more influence and resources, may have held negative views towards moonshiners due to these factors. Right? We know that they did. Same thing, conservatives running around, foaming at the mouth, wagging their finger at the black teenagers and what they're doing. It's the same attitude. But there's always seems to be this sort of this nasty racial component to it. You know what I mean? Like where white people can't see, excuse me, you were the one that was at the bottom of the Titanic. You were the one that couldn't go up there and be seated with Rose, right? You were the one that couldn't do that, right? It's like they forget that, right? And then when we bring up reparations for slavery, the Irish, they went through hard times too, and it was indentured servitude, and that's the only time they want to bring it up, right? Any other time, let them tell it. They right there with the Anglo-Saxons and the white elite and people with connections to the British royal family and the what do you call this shit? The dollar princesses and all that other stuff, right? Where the wealthy white aristocrats were trying to buy their way into royal families. Oh yeah, look it up. I think that's what they're called, the dollar princesses, right? But anyway, when I see all this, and I was getting ready to wind the video down, but I'm saying when I see all this and I hear all this, right? I say to myself, I'm blocking people and whatnot. Anyway, when I see all this, I say to myself, I'm like, you know what? I see, and I hate this part. I really do hate this part. Because I feel like black people become so anti white people, so anti the system that we fail to know where the edge is. You know what I mean? Like we're so incensed by the way that white people will come in the room and try to define things, and what we touch is gold, what you touch is piss, right? Even though it'll be like the same shit, it'll be in the same vein. This white people come in the room like freaking Quill from The Mandalorian, talking about, it is it is not, what did he say? I have spoken. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have spoken, and the Mandalorian is talking about it is the way. Right? It's like, motherfucker, who the fuck are you? And again, see, this is the whole thing with the carrot, right? Like, young black people don't engage in the respectability politics because there's no way for you to achieve respectability. You can achieve, token status. You can be, a Kuhn, a Thomas Sowell, a Larry Elders, a Candace Owens. You can be, the black people that espouse white people's, talking points, and denigrate and condemn other black people. Oh yeah, white people will pat you on the head, tell you about, how great of a coon you are, right? They'll do that shit all the time, throw money at you, all that shit. But there's no real, true, genuine acceptance. And I'm not even saying black people should look for white acceptance. And I'm saying they shouldn't look for white acceptance because white people have proven themselves to be collectively pathological. They're pathological. There is no, hey, he beat him fair and square, or hey, I recognize, hey man, that's pretty cool. That's pretty, creative. Not at the collective level. Individually, yeah, sure. Like freaking, musicians or some shit like that. And, you'll see this from white musicians, where they'll acknowledge. Like, I remember I was watching a clip of, the drummer from Nirvana, who's like the lead singer of Foo Fighters, and he was basically saying that he took the drum beat for Teen Spirit. He took that from a black a group that came before him, and he met the guy and was like, oh yeah, I totally took that. And the black guy was like, yeah, I know, like that whole that whole beat. For when the the Nirvana Teen Spirit drum part drops, he's like, I took that shit from disco. You know what I'm saying? So there's individuals that will acknowledge that shit, but when it comes down to the collective, nah, hell nah. And so, like, it's pointless for black people to try to gain white people's favor, and so then you run into this whole like Mad Max and the Road Warrior type of thing. Where black people get on their ODB shit. You know what I mean? Like, they get on that, that freaking Brooklyn Zoo type of shit. Because they don't give a fuck. Because you're not going to get, white people are never going to tip their hat off to you. Fuck their standards. Because nothing you do will ever be good enough. Right? It's just like again, with the whole car thing. White boys go off, they moonshine, they're doing illegal activity, running away from the police like it's goddamn Dukes of Hazzards and shit. This is before, like, I think that was 1994 when Bill Clinton signed that crime bill, where before that, I think you couldn't go across, state lines or county lines. That was that Dukes of Hazzard shit where the county sheriff or whatever, he would chase you miles and miles, and you get to the county border and shit, and then, you jump the bridge, over the river or some shit like that, and somehow not destroy, the suspension of your vehicle, and then the cop would almost fall into the water, and then he'd get out the car and then take off his cowboy hat and say, dag nabbit, and slam it on the ground and step on it, and you just look at the officer in the rear view. Yeah, that's that movie shit. You know what I mean? That's what white folks were doing. Or these white moonshiners were doing. Right? Before that shit turned into NASCAR. But you take some black guys and they hook up their cars. Oh, that's so niggerish. Oh, that's niggerish. Oh, it's so niggerish. Right? Like, what the fuck? I mean, you see this even when you go to the auto show. Notice how they put all the dub shit. Like, if you go to the Philly Auto Show and you go to the convention center, where's all the black people shit? In the basement. At the bottom, right? Not where all the other new vehicles, and people can, they try to justify, oh, well, they're not the cars that are being sold. They're not dealerships. They're not new vehicles. It's just people showing how to soup up cars and everything and yada, yada, yada. And sometimes they'll put the classic cars down there too. You know what I mean? But there's still a devaluing of of how black people would hook up a car. You know, like when you see, you know, shit in the South and they got the car on donks, it's on 24s, it's on spinning rims, it's on the rims that don't rotate, so the car looks like literally like it's gliding. You know, they got, you know, candy painted cars with they got, you know, Skittles designs for the seats, right? This is all just creative shit. You know what I mean? Like when you see another man's when you see a custom Glock, a Gucci Glock, right? It's like, hey, you know, oh, how did you hook your shit up? Oh, that's cool, right? Or like one of my favorite games, Division 2, right? It's like, oh, how did you hook up your character? What are you running? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you running this, be running a bleed build. Oh, you're running a, you know, a strikers build, right? You want higher RPMs. Oh, you're running that Eclipse protocol. Like, oh, okay, cool. Right? But no, when black people do some shit, oh, it's nigger, it immediately has to be devalued. And like I said, you know, I mean, even when it came to, you know, oh, black music, oh, it's Jungle Bunny music, right? Jazz was put down when it first came out. Rock and roll was put down when it first came out. Then white people steal it, and then they go off, and then all of a sudden, now it's a thing. You know, lobster, if y'all don't know, was considered the cockroach of the sea. It was a cockroach. That they used to give that to the black dock workers and shit. Yeah, eat that cockroach. Motherfuckers out there eating lobster every day, all day. You know what I mean? Until white people suddenly decided, oh, lobster, oh, it's a delicacy. Oh, we can make, the white elites, oh, we can make money off of this. Oh, I can get a bunch of white guys, poor white guys, to have a shipping boat or a crabbing boat, and then I can sell each one of these lobsters or crab for, you know, $100 a plate, $50 a plate, $25 a plate, whatever it is, depending on the restaurant and depending on the location and depending on, you know, the size of the crab, you know, oh, king crab, oh, this is just amazing, you know, all that shit. But this is shit that white folks, they didn't used to eat. You see, so, I mean, it's just all of it. It's just everything that we do is just put down. And once you really start to see it, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I start looking at the situation, having a little bit more respect, you know, for the street culture. Because I'm just like, nah, fuck it, do what you do. I ain't gonna say nothing about it, right? Because I used to, you know, me growing up in the burbs, you know, I used to, you know, have it in my mind that, you know, that not that I was trying to imitate white people, but I wanted to have the material wealth of what they had, and I'm like, why can't we just have a black suburb, you know, just like their shit? But I knew it was tied to money. You know what I mean? Like I knew that, like, certain things were going to be brought over, but you know, even like Cap and I, we have discussions about that. Like, okay, well, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable? Like, okay, like if we're going to have a black community that has the same resources as the white community, okay, are we going to allow for boats to be parked out prominently in front of the house? Or are we going to have, you know, a homeowners association say no boats? Or if you have a fence, it can't be, or everybody's fence has to be the same, you know, for the curb appeal. Or, you know, you can't work, or you can't do any shade tree mechanic shit. You can't have a car in front of the house on cinder blocks, right? And then how much of that are black people going to be like, oh, man, you coming in with these Eurocentric standards. Oh, you coming in with white people shit. What is white people shit? And what is just, motherfucker, we just don't want to see that shit because that shit is not appealing. You know what I mean? And you get into these pitch match, and this is what is so fucked up and sucks about being black in this world, when every standard that you try to establish for yourself, if it even remotely looks like what white people are doing, even if it's just some universal shit. Like, example, young guys, fast cars, muscle cars, spinning tires. Like, who doesn't want to do that shit? Who doesn't want to do donuts in a fucking parking lot if they got a car that actually has the horsepower to do it? Right? Who doesn't go down the highway at 80 miles an hour on the turnpike when there's very few cars around? Who doesn't do that? Like, there's certain shit that people do because it's fucking enjoyable. It is just what you do. Right? And we know that the state will come down and, you know, create laws and everything. They don't have to be race specific. Right? But when it comes to being black, we get into this, you know, well, okay, well, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? Or you get the people that literally, they don't view it from the standpoint that, look, white people put us in this situation, and there's a lot of bullshit in here that we should be throwing out. Like, example, black people were given the scraps to during slavery. We didn't get to eat the high on the hog or high on the horse or whatever. We didn't get to eat the good parts. We ate the chitlins and the pig feet and the pig tongue and the pig testicles, right? We ate the shit that didn't have the all the meat on it. We didn't get the prime cuts. Slaves weren't in the slave quarters eating sirloin steak or eating T-bone steak. They weren't eating that part of the animal, right? So, we turned, lemons into lemonade, so to speak, and we made delicacies out of, this bullshit. And then you got to have a conversation with black people about, what is us and what isn't. Right? You got to have a conversation with black people about, what is our culture and what is not our culture, or what is our culture versus what is only our culture because of the situation that white people put us in. That's a better way of putting it. Right? Will we be eating that shit if slavery didn't happen? Will we be running around going to the local corner store talking about, give me some pork rinds. Give me some pork rinds. You know what I mean? Like, what are pork rinds? It's fucking pig skin. Pig skin. That's what you're eating when you're eating pork rinds. Or chitlins. You're eating the intestines. You're eating where the shit collects. That's what you're eating. Or actually, technically, yeah, where the shit collects, where food is absorbed and shit. But at the end of the day, you're eating, what the animal ultimately is defecating through. You see what I'm saying? And even when it comes to like hip hop and the music and stuff like that, like if we weren't living in the conditions that we're living, we wouldn't be on the corners rapping about death and suffering and, who's harder than the next person, who's in more poverty than the next person. Oh, nigga, I grew up harder than you. Like black people literally bragging about who had less, which makes me stronger, right? And then we get caught up in that shit. Then you get into a situation where now you can't have any nice shit because having nice shit makes you soft. Growing up with nice shit makes you soft. And I'm like, well, goddamn, what is the fucking point of getting out of poverty? I always make this argument. You got all these rappers, they rap about suffering, and I grew up hard, and I didn't grow up having shit, and da-da-da-da. And the first thing they want to do when it comes to their mama is move them out to the suburbs. And then when it comes to their own kids, their kids going to the best schools, their kids getting, ditties up there, brand new Bentleys and shit for my son when he turns 17 or 18 and whatnot. And you sitting there, you like, but I thought it was, we grew up hard and all this other shit. I thought we was the streets, nigga. Right? All that. But when it comes to their own children, even though they on the microphone, even though they on the wax talking about, death and pain and suffering and dustiness and not having no shit on some Styles P type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Make me black out, think about my welfare days, times I had to sleep on the steps. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just like these type of lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Don't you fuck with a nigga that be planning for war. I got slugs to go through. You put your man on the floor. You know what I mean? Like goddamn, nigga. Damn. And I mean, just look up the number of times the songs Styles P and him rapping about stabbing people. He loves stabbing people in his lyrics. But it's like when the fuck do we graduate from that? When do we grow out of that? When do we establish our own bougie ass standards? Can we be bougie and not be labeled white? Can that be a thing? Right? And then this is where some of the conservatives will, this is where they're able to kind of sneak in, for the black people who are trying to escape poverty. And then it looks like they're making sense when they're really, they're really undermining black people on some snake shit. And if you're not careful, you won't catch it. You see what I'm saying? That's how they try to, they lure you in, on that anti-black conservative angle. I mean, black people, they're just regressive. That's all there is to it, It's fucked up. But I'm saying I totally get why you have black people who, they say, you know what, I'm not fuck white people and their standards. But my question to black people is, I'm like, all right, I hear you. I totally feel you, because I can't stand their bullshit either. You know what I mean? Motherfucker, like we'll be doing something on Monday, and they'll watch us do it. And then they'll come over and let us know that what we're doing ain't shit. And then literally on Wednesday, they'll come in, and then we catch them doing the same shit we was doing, and now they're like, oh, this is the new thing now. We have decided, we have had our Supreme White Council, and we've decided that now this will be a thing. And you're like, motherfucker, we were just doing that. Right? Just like I mean, another example, it's like the legalization of marijuana. Right? Black folks out here, selling marijuana, trying to make ends meet, doing what they got to do, right? Illegal, right? Then, we've discovered the medicinal value of marijuana. Oh, yes, and yes, and we will now legalize dispensaries. All you have to do is register and get yourself a medical marijuana card. Like, huh? Motherfuckers been on some medical marijuana shit before you even decided to do medical marijuana. Motherfuckers been on medical marijuana. We just didn't call it that. You know what I mean? But this is the type of shit they do. And I totally get it. I totally get why you get black people that are like, man, fuck these motherfuckers. Fuck them. And their goddamn standards. You know what I mean? And the bougie shit. But again, it's like, how far do you want to take that shit? And the thing is like, when it comes to black folks, like, well, I don't know, we get so funny with it sometimes. You know what I mean? Where we sit there and, oh, that's Eurocentric. Oh, that's reject it. You know what I mean? And then black people will literally go out there and spend, a huge portion of their money buying luxury items defined by white people. So much so that white luxury brands can mock black people, and like Gucci did with that mask, looking like the fucking the black cartoon caricature of black people in 1930s and the 1920s, and black people still running around talking about, nigga, I'm Gucci. Still running around, throwing around frames like that. I'm like, nigga, the motherfuckers just disrespected your whole entire group. What are you doing running around still talking about, nigga, I'm Gucci? What are you doing? Same with fucking Floyd Mayweather. Coon shit. I still support Gucci. You know what I'm saying? Like, so one breath we sit there and we say, oh man, fuck their standards. And in the next breath, or not even the next breath, in the next action, we go out there and then we engage in all these things. I must have all these white status symbols to denote my status to other Negroes, and to let white people know that I've arrived. I must have a German vehicle in order to let them know I've arrived. I must have a Breitling. I must have a Rolex. I must have Italian designer clothes in order to let them know that I have arrived. Right? Meanwhile, anything that we do, oh, it ain't shit. It ain't shit until we say it's shit. It ain't shit until we say it's shit. And then they go and then they, freaking. I remember there was a boot. It was like the Milano boot or something like that. And what it looked like, it would look like a high heel version of a Timberland boot. And it was like a whole fiasco. Y'all can look it up. I think it was called the Milano boot or something like that. But basically, because of its affiliation, or because it looked like a Timberland boot, it wasn't deemed, to be high fashion, because the niggas wear that. You know what I mean? Trying to think something else. Like even Timberland boots themselves, had the Jay-Z fiasco with Cristal. Y'all remember that shit? Till he bought the company, or a share of it, whatever it was. But I'm saying, even Timberland didn't particularly care for the fact that black people, were rocking Timberland. It was supposed to be like this outdoorsy boot, and then black people started wearing it. I don't even think it was like a construction boot. I could be wrong. I haven't really looked at like all the details of it. But I know that there was an issue with the Timberland boot and black people wearing Timberland boots. Because black people will just arbitrarily decide, like, hey, this is what's popping, and then we'll go out and we'll buy it, and we're not even the beneficiaries of it. We don't have any stocks in it, nothing. You know what I mean? And then these are companies that are like, yo, you're bringing down our brand. Right? Not that black people did anything. They went out and bought it, and the company's making millions off of black people, and they don't, like, again, they have such an issue that they at the same time they're making a killing. They're making money off of black people. Hand over fist. They're still sitting there looking at it like, well, I didn't really make this for you. Why do they have to wear our stuff? You know, that type of shit. And this is why black people got to learn and they got to, go through, whatever we got to go through, whatever therapy we got to go through to deal with our self-hatred, our inferiority complexes. We need to sort that shit out. And so that we can, have healthy relationships with ourselves, define what is status and what is wealth for ourselves, which I understand is extremely difficult when you have white people who are pretty much hoarding all of the fucking wealth. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying this is something that black people have to think about. You got to consciously think about this shit. As opposed to just going out there all just, with your eyes closed. But I just have to say that, I totally get why you get people who just, they will just, literally throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to white people entering spaces and trying to define shit, or even other black people trying to police black people's behavior, trying to police black people's speech. I totally get it, but my whole thing is like, where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if you've mastered the English language and then you want to, we was chilling, we was Kangs, that'd be one thing. You know what I mean? If you say, all right, I get what you're saying, bro. Yes, we were Kangs, right? But no, not, like a lot of y'all get into, like, that's how you speak on a regular, every day, all day. You haven't mastered the English language. And then you're trying to throw up the, white people, they come through. Who's to say, yeah, I'm speaking English. Yeah, I can understand you, but your English is not. Well, whose standards are you trying to live up to? And then you get into these really dumb circular arguments. It's like, yeah, brother, I get why you reject. Yeah, they come through and they shit on us all the time. I get it, but you still gotta master the English language, bruh. Come on. Your grammar should be on point. But again, like I said, black people, we did that in the the 1950s and 60s. You see this with black people protesting, and we saw our grandparents and for some of you great grandparents who did the marching, they did the protest. No sagging pants. None of the bullshit that white people complain about today. And these were the most upstanding black people that probably this nation's ever seen. Qualified for the mortgages. And again, white people still said no and still gave them their ass to kiss. So why should black people today have any faith as it pertains to living up to white people's standards? Why should they have any faith? And like I said, I don't know what it is. I think that it has a lot to do with jealousy and in the ways, especially for black men, the way that black men, even though, they will be poor, dusty, not have anything in the bank account, but the mystique that surrounds, our subculture, it gets thrust into the forefront because a bunch of white or Jewish men want to make some money off of the shit. So now the underground is in the mainstream. You see, and that's a key difference with African Americans and every other subgroup in every other nation. Like I said, the Yakuza are not splashed all over the Japanese television. You know what I mean? The Yakuza can't even open a bank account. You know what I mean? The Yakuza cannot go off and marry a Japanese politician's daughter. A Yakuza cannot marry into the Japanese, family. Tattoos are frowned upon in Japan. They don't play that shit. And then you go around the world, the triads. You go around and you look at the Russian mob. You go around and you look at the Italian mob, and even when you look at like Italian mob and Russian mob are very interesting. Like even when it comes to Putin's whole country operates as a mob, with the Siloviki. But I'm saying, even when you look at the Italian mob, like they were trying to look like white men on Wall Street. They were trying to still look legitimate. They looked the part. Al Capone looked the part. You couldn't tell Al Capone and his crew from any of the white guys that were coming out of the courthouse that were on Wall Street. You couldn't tell the difference. What was the difference? There was no difference. You see? So, I'm just saying that for us, we're in a very unique situation, because nowhere else on planet Earth do you have the underground thrust into the forefront the way that we are, as African American men. And personally, I think a lot of that is by design, because it creates confusion. It keeps us distracted from real avenues of power as opposed to symbolism of power, right? And I'm saying even the white guys get caught up in that shit. A white guy will have a house, he'll have, a kick-ass job, dude's making well into six figures, and still be sitting around feeling some type of way about what some black dude is doing on the internet. He's still feeling some type of way, right? Still feels sexually threatened. Right? And again, going back to Gail Dines with her article, King Kong and the White Woman, she laid that shit the fuck out of how the two are really played against each other. You don't want working class white men and working class black men forming Voltron. So what do? You maintain the black man as a sexual threat. This is where we get into all the great replacement theory. This is where we get into all the AME church and, they rape our women and all this other bullshit. That's where we get into all that, all those beliefs. And all they need is, there's 330 million people in this country. All they need is like 3 or 4 examples to happen across the country in the span of a year, and they'll act like, oh my God, it's happening everywhere. Oh, it's a pandemic. Oh, niggas out here just raping white women all over the place. I'm like, 330 million people in this country. And all incidents should be zero. No incidents are going to be fucking zero with 330 million people in this country. Fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? The amount of calculable interactions with 330 million people. Are you mad? You know what I mean? Like it's just dumb. I mean, it's the same argument that white folks try to defend when they talk about, cops being killed. You know what I mean? Or excuse me, not cops being killed, cops killing black people. It's a drop in the bucket compared to, black people and gang members shooting each other, right? But the same thing goes even for cops being killed. The irony is more white folks kill cops than black folks. More white folks intentionally ambush police officers. Like, they're ready when the cops pull up. The cops pull up, oh, I'm here because there's a cat in the tree. As soon as they pull in the driveway, motherfuckers sitting there with a HK91. You know what I'm saying? Or what company comes with the Century Arms C308? Just dumping. You know what I mean? One of them set me rifles. You motherfuckers just dumping. I'm like, God damn, you firing 308 at your car? Shit. Shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just going to dice that car up. Not 5.56, 308. You know what I mean? Because white guys, they like them moose hunting calibers and shit like that. They want shit that'll take an elephant. So but it's like you'll have all these, we support law enforcement, we support police, and the white militias are the ones that intend on killing police. They're the ones that are anti-government way more than black people. They're the ones that are actually organized. But again, these sort of like these perceptions. You know, you get a black guy and, you know, he's pro 2A, and all of a sudden all the white people get nervous, all the cops get nervous, you know, they want to shake the black man down and all this other shit. I'm like, when have black people organized to ambush the police? When the fuck has that gone down? Versus the white people who have organized to ambush police and capture governors of states. But yet the perception is, oh, those black man, it was a black guy, he had a gun and a beret, and I mean, that's some scary shit. I'm like, for real? But the white guy with the camouflage and the fucking walkie-talkie and the earpiece and the plate carrier, you know, and the freaking, you know, skull and crossbone shit, you know, his patch. He's got a bunch of patches. He's got the, you know, whatever the white supremacist death squad shit. He got all type of shit. But yet cops will be like, you know, they'll sit there and see them and nod and, you know, and look at them and be like, yeah, you know, they're true patriots. They're patriots. Shaking their hand and shit like that. Black guy out there on some Grandmaster J shit, and now they, you know, they all, you know, oh, we got to do something. We got to put them in jail. Anyway, but y'all get my point. I'm getting off topic and I'm rambling, but I just had to share the stream of consciousness because it was really getting underneath my skin. But anyway, that's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.